Hello, welcome back to my channel, my friends. I am so excited to be doing another most anticipated new release reading vlog. We're gonna have some fun. I'm gonna read some books that I have genuinely been like chomping at the bit to get to. Luckily, Libro FM hooked us up with a couple of ALCs for a book that's not out yet, a book that recently came out. It's gonna be a really good time. I think all of these books are on my most anticipated list right this year, and if they're not, I mean, I'm anticipating them. I'm anticipating enjoying them. So let me tell you those three books and then we can get into the vlog. First up, we're gonna be reading, I'm sure you have guessed and seen on, the thumbnail of the video, Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. This one is not quite out yet, so I'm gonna do my best to avoid spoilers for it. I'm very excited to see how this Emily Henry book stacks up to some of her other ones because I'm sure you'll know I have a complicated relationship with this author. Sometimes I love her stuff, sometimes it kind of falls flat, so we're gonna try that. Next, we're going to try a new to me author. We're gonna try Passion Project by the author Landon Sperry. I believe this is a debut. This one really intrigued me with its premise. And I'm not gonna tell you the premise now, I'm gonna tell you the premise later so we don't waste any time. And then lastly, I'm gonna be reading They'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. This is maybe my most anticipated romance of the year, and I'm really hoping that this one delivers. I've heard mixed things. I had a friend DNF this, so I have no idea what to expect, but I am excited to get into it. And I'm honestly just excited to keep my reading streak going because I have been reading non-stop lately and it has been quite a time. And that time has actually been aided by the sponsor of today's video, Fable, who I'm so excited to be working with again. I have been loving Fable's newer features where you can really see the stats for your reading. I think a lot of us have been using Goodreads for quite a while, and Goodreads functions technically, but it's not exactly visually stimulating. It doesn't show me all of the stats that I'd like to see for my reading, and the stats it does not show beautifully. So I've really been enjoying Fable for tracking my reading. It's really pretty and it is such a good visual way to motivate me almost to stay on track with my reading goals. It is super easy to use as well. When I first heard about this feature, I was like, oh no, is it gonna have all of my data from the past year or so? Because I don't want to have to go in and manually add all of the books that I've read over the past year, because I've read a lot. Not to brag, but I've read 70 plus books. I didn't want to go in manually, but of course they have a really convenient and easy Goodreads import feature, so all you have to do is click import, and if you have the Goodreads app on your phone, it'll automatically sync. You don't have to log in or do anything fancy. It's so easy, and then everything populates and you can see how your months are broken up. You can see different statistics on your reading. You can see how many books you should probably be reading in a given month. That is something that has been really helping me in particular. There is a streak feature which you can use to keep yourself on track with reading every single day. I think that's probably especially helpful if you're someone who's trying to build a reading habit. Me personally, I don't use that quite as much because there are some days I don't read at all, but I've really been loving showing me how many books I need to read to get to my goal. It's hey, you need to read 29 books this month, and I'm oh my god, that's a lot, but I do want to read 300 books this year. So seeing that visually and not having to calculate that myself, ooh, I love that. And then also just the other little helpful tidbits and little insights, it's just been really nice to see, and it's also kind of shown me, okay, I've been reading a lot of romance, which is awesome. Maybe I should branch out into other genres a little bit more too. So you can see the little pie chart, which is nice. It says romance and fantasy and sports, but I feel we need to switch it up, add some new things in there as well. It shows me my star rating and how that's going. I feel my star rating this year has been higher than past years so far, which is really nice, and I hope to continue on in that streak. Just generally, this app rocks. I love tracking my reading with Fable. It is so easy to use. It's so beautiful, and I mean, there's literally so much to do within the app. I've used them in the past for book clubs. You can join book clubs. There's a little reader horoscope feature, which has recently been updated. In case any of y'all have seen it in the past, it has been updated. It's really cute. Mine says that I have a thrilling heart. I've read heartwarming stories of second chances and then tales of chilling escapes. Let your imagination run free, chasing the unexpected in both love and life. And that is true because I've read a lot of romance and thrillers lately. It's just fun. It's a fun way to track your reading, and I think y'all will enjoy tracking your reading with Fable as well. Joining book clubs, it is, I think, the future of reading tracking apps. So if you want to check out Fable and have some fun with your reading stats like I have been, feel free to click the link in my description down below. Thanks again to Fable for sponsoring this video. Again, always excited to work with Fable. Let's go ahead and get into the reading portion of this vlog, shall we? I think we're going to start with Great Big Beautiful Life. I never do this, and by this I mean I never put off filming clips for these vlogs. I'm always so excited to film my most anticipated videos, yet somehow A Great Big Beautiful Life or Great Big Beautiful Life is causing me to not want to film. It's a kind of a struggle. I got 30% in yesterday. I fully intended to sit down and film a clip, but to be honest with you, I just don't like this book, and it's really hard to articulate all of the reasons why. I think that the biggest thing for me would be the way that this book feels like a Taylor Jenkins Reid book, and I saw saw that in the reviews for this book, and I just couldn't put it better myself. Like, that is exactly what this is. This book is about our main character Alice and some man whose name I can't remember and frankly don't care about. This really peppy, not very Emily Henry-esque heroine who has tracked down this, I don't want to say reclusive person, but this heiress who hasn't talked to anyone in many, many years and is basically living in hiding, kind of in secret in Georgia. Everybody kind of wants to know more about her and know more about her life. Alice decides she's going to contact this woman and I guess propose writing her biography. Ends up, showing up, and this woman is like, you know what, I'm interested in potentially letting you do this, but there's someone else that also wants to do the same thing, so I will allow both of you to kind of follow me around for a month, and then from there I will decide who is going to do the writing. This book is just so heavy on the life story of this woman who I just frankly don't care about. Worse than a Taylor Jenkins Reid book, because at least Taylor Jenkins Reid books are interesting. That was mean, and I didn't mean it that way, but frankly, stories that TJR writes tend to at least draw me in. I didn't love Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo for many reasons, but that book was interesting to me. It kept my interest, at least. And that's how I feel about most of her books. I don't feel that way about this one. I don't care about this woman's life. Frankly, I'm getting confused often about what's going on, because we're getting the recounting of this woman's story in certain chapters. We're also getting, I guess, working relationship, kind of, even though they're not technically working together, between Alice and this gentleman who I guess has written a biography before, is like world renowned for it. She writes for a publication, and he writes again for himself and writes biographies and shit. Not my thing. He's like grumpy. He thinks he's kind of better than our heroine. I don't like when grumpy heroes think that they're better than grumpy heroines, and that's kind of the vibe I'm getting here. It's just not my thing. It's just like sincerely not my thing, and my instinct is to DNF. I'm not going to because that would not be very fun, and I am not hating it enough to where I don't want to see where things go, but I'm really going to need things to get more interesting, especially because, again, when it comes to the story within the story, it's not actually about the woman yet. It's not actually about kind of older heiress that we're following, like her grandparents and great-grandparents and shit. I think eventually we're going to get her story, and she also kind of hints at the beginning of the story very, Seven Husbands-y. I want this story to be the real story. I'm sure there's gonna be some fucking plot twists. It's fine. I'm gonna finish this one today. I am. That's my plan for today. That's the only thing I have to do, and I have the audiobook of this, thank God, for Julia Whalen, because I didn't want to go out and purchase this because I was uncertain if this was gonna be for me, and I can tell you right now, it's not, but I will continue to update you on my thoughts and feelings because who am I but a glutton for punishment? So the good news is that I've gotten 70% of the way into this book. Bad news is that I think this might be my least favorite Emily Henry book. Not even I think. I know at this point that it is, which is really ultimately disappointing. I didn't have grand expectations necessarily for this one. I didn't give much thought to the synopsis. Frankly, I don't really give that much thought to book synopses anyway, which, maybe that would explain why I don't have the best luck finding books that I like. But I don't know. I think that you could make me enjoy anything if the writing's good enough. So typically when I'm picking books, I tend to pick them up based on the author and my history with them, which is why I don't try as many new authors, and that doesn't really matter here because I've read Emily Henry before and I just don't like this book. Surprised, honestly, that we are just now at this 70% mark getting the actual story of Margaret, the woman that we are interviewing. We've gotten her family history before that, and maybe we're gonna understand some family trauma and we needed to unfold that information, but I just don't think that that story that's being told is compelling enough to carry this entire book. And then on top of that, I think the romance is so painfully lackluster. Also, I think it's hilarious that I couldn't remember the name of the hero in this book. It's literally Hayden. That makes sense, actually, that I couldn't remember it because Hayden, I know, has a personality. I'm really struggling with my words here. I'm really struggling to articulate what about the romance isn't working. I think really it just feels thrown together. It feels very lacking in lead up, lacking in any sort of tension and angst. The will they won't they isn't there. They kiss fairly early on in the book, and I don't think that's a spoiler to say. If you think that, so sorry. Don't understand why these two would be into each other except for the, I guess, opposites attract aspect. But you could say that about literally any two people who are technically incompatible on page, right? Or on paper. So what am I supposed to see in these two? I mean, they both write, I guess. I don't see it. And I have seen in other Emily Henry books stuff or compatibility. I see it in Book Lovers. I see it in Beach Read. I see it in some of the other books. Even if the hero is bland as fuck, even if his only purpose is to be obsessed with the heroine from day one, I'm not getting that in this book. I'm not getting that, and I'm also not getting character development or relationship development replacing that. So what am I left with? Except for frustration and disappointment. Okay, friends, hello. Happy whatever day it is. I think it's Tuesday. This outfit looks so boring from the waist up. I'm wearing fun pants, so don't you worry. And fun shoes. Do you want to see? I finished Great Big Beautiful Life. I have since started Passion Project by London Sperry, and we've got a lot to talk about. So I don't want to go on too long about Great Big Beautiful Life because it's just not fun to talk about books that you hated. But it was really nice getting to fully figure out my feelings on this book before coming back to you. I think sometimes for me, it takes a while to really figure out my feelings. Like I have an initial, reaction when I'm reading a book and right after I finish, but it takes a little bit to really find a rating, I guess. I needed to simmer. Luckily, I posted that I had just finished this book. Apparently Kayla also finished it at the same time and we had a little cathartic convo about it, which was very nice. But after that conversation, I think that I really shored up my rating for this book and it is in fact going to be 1 star. If the scale exists from 1 to 5, I need to be better about giving out 1-star ratings. For me in the past, I have reserved 1 stars for, I don't know, like problematic books, and then 2 for books that I just didn't enjoy. But I think that I need to just more generously give out my 1 stars and maybe be more generous with my 5 stars as well. I think most books for me kind of exist on the 2, 3, 4 scale. I just didn't like any part of this. I felt like the story within a story was incredibly boring. There is a twist at the end of this book I didn't see coming, but I probably should have seen coming from a mile away. I think what was frustrating to me is that I was expecting all of that lead up to get us to a place where I was like, oh, okay, that's why you chose to tell us all of these things. It was for this twist. None of the things that were told in terms of the story within a story have anything to really to do with a twist. That was frustrating to me. It's not that the story within a story didn't pertain at all to the twist, but like, why did I need to hear about this woman, Margaret's entire family? I didn't need to understand her entire family line. Taylor Jenkins Reid book without any emotion. Like, I don't even like Taylor Jenkins Reid books very much, but this felt like a cheap knockoff. I'm gonna be honest. There was just no heart to it, and then the romance was not a romance. Yes, these 2 people end up together. Felt no chemistry between the 2 of them. They were making out from basically the beginning of the book, and it was like they were just gonna stay together, despite a couple of, like, I don't want to say conversations or mishaps, but you know what I mean? Like, they had a couple of issues and miscommunication issues and arguments, but ultimately, like, you knew they were gonna get together. If there were no stakes involved. An incredibly frustrating read. I really did not enjoy this, and I think Kayla made an interesting point, which I agree with, which is that I think a lot of people are going to take the fact that this book leans more literary and run with it and act like it's the best Emily Henry book they've ever read. She really just needs to like stick to romance or get back to sort of like magical realism shit she was writing when she was writing YA. I think she's a very talented author. I just don't like the things that she chooses to write most of the time, and this was really, really not it for me. I wish I could say that I would never read another book from her again, but she surprises me sometimes. Her last entry, I gave 4 stars. I really love People Meet on Vacation. That's one of my favorite romances of all time. I don't like the literary shit. I don't like it. And it's not even that I didn't like the literary shit. It's just, I don't think it was well done in this book. So that's all I'm gonna say on that, okay? I know I feel like I've said the same things over and over again, but those are 2 huge glaring issues, the romance and the story within a story. So let's move on to a book that is kind of chaotic, but I think I like the concept at least. Passion Project by Lyndon Sperry is about our main character, Bennett, and our hero, Henry. Bennett is in kind of a dark place at the beginning of this book, and not in a dark place as in she's like holed up in her bedroom depressed like I have been for the past 4 months. She is kind of chaos walking. She is holding down a job, and by a job I mean she does a lot of different temp jobs. She is trying to just do what she needs to do in New York to keep a roof over her head. She is not exactly thriving because the love of her life has passed away. She's also recently lost her best friend as well. Her best friend was sister of her boyfriend. After her boyfriend passed away, they got into a fight. Her and her best friend got into a fight, and now she's kind of just on her own. She's not doing very well, but she has been set up with someone named Henry. And instead of attending the date, she ends up getting really drunk at a bar instead and happens to run into Henry. And this kind of sets off a chain of events in which Henry is going to help Bennett find her passion for life. He asks her, oh, like, what is your passion? Because I think that he tells her what his is. I can't remember exactly what he said his passion is, but I think it was photography. He was really disappointed to hear that Bennett didn't have a passion, and he was also, saddened to hear about her life and just like, kind of what she's been through. She hasn't like divulged her entire backstory to him, but I do think she has already told him that her partner has passed away. He just takes it upon himself to take her to do fun things to try to discover her passion. In the scene that I just listened to, we have Henry taking Bennett to a tattoo shop, and she is freaking out at the beginning. I don't know what to do. I don't want a tattoo. What the fuck? Like, I did not sign up for this. And he's like, like, no, we're not getting tattooed. We are going to be tattooing. We're gonna practice tattooing. She's into kind of like artsy shit. She's like, you know what? Okay, this sounds fun. They have a really great time together, and I'm sure that the book is going to be them going on these little adventures, finding her passion, and her finding her sexual passion for him. It's an interesting book. I think that it's fairly realistic. Maybe not for everybody. I don't think everybody reacts the same to grief. I know that that's not the case, but I do think this is an interesting look inside what that could be like, because it seems like this has happened a while ago, the passing of her, you know, partner, and is like kind of last time, I guess, for her to not move on, but to kind of like, you know, take the next steps in her life. That was actually part of the argument that she had with her best friend. Her best friend's like, you know, I think that you need to go back to school. I think you need to do some things. And she's like, no, you know, my partner wanted me to be in New York. I should be in New York. And anyway, I think what I am feeling about this book is an appreciation, I guess, for a different depiction of grief and depression. I think that this is definitely different than a lot of the things I've read. Again, most people are like holed up in their bedroom and not able to wash their hair and stuff. And maybe our heroine was like that at one point, but she's not anymore. So it's a different depiction for sure of depression. That being said, I don't know that I totally love the writing. It's not poorly written whatsoever, but there is a lot of like quirkiness, if that makes sense. We get our heroine's internal dialogue, and it is constantly spinning with jokes and quirky things that have happened to her, or like snafus, or like, I don't know if I'm like communicating well what I'm trying to say. She has a lot of anecdotes. There's a lot of like wacky things that happen to her. We're subjected to all of it, and it can feel like a lot sometimes. And I feel like maybe the seriousness of the story is not tonally there, but I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. I'm a little undecided, I think, at the moment. So anyway, God, a bitch be yapping in this video. Well, friends, I have some bad news for you. I did finish Passion Project by London Sperry, and it was not good. I am struggling a little bit with this video. The good news is that I'm gonna get into comfy clothes, and I'm going to read Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. I've started 20 pages in, and I'm already enjoying it so much more than both of these first two books. I do think that we're turning this vlog around, but at the moment, we're just in hot garbage territory, okay? This book was really not it. It was really tough for me, and I was gonna update you at 50%, but I just really couldn't tell in what direction this book was heading and what my feelings were going to be, and I ultimately just wanted to wait and tell you after I was done. My main issue with this book was the predictability of the story. It was incredibly hard to read because I could tell everything that was going to happen. We had multiple different conflicts in this book, arguably too many conflicts in this book, basically just fuck-ups of our heroine and her making decisions and choices that hurt the people around her. And I very much understand that when you are going through a tough time, when you're depressed, when you're dealing with grief, it can make you very selfish, maybe not as concerned with the people around you. You know, I could definitely relate to that in some ways. My problem was that our heroine really did not learn from her mistakes, and she would make a mistake and she would apologize for it, and she would reconcile with that person, and I'd be like, oh, okay, like we're learning. But then she would fuck up with someone new. At what point is it self-sabotage? You know what I mean? And that's kind of the point of the book. She is self-sabotaging, and that eventually she does have this like realization that she can move on and that she can be happy, and she owes it to herself to be happy. But it felt like too little too late, because I didn't get to see her character growth whatsoever. An epiphany does not make for character development. I'm sorry to say. I would have liked to see her learn things from her mistakes. There's like the main conflict, I wouldn't even say main conflict. There's like two problems she specifically has with the hero of the book. There's problems she has with other people in the book, but specifically the two problems she has with hero. One, she overreacts to, he does something and she finds out some information and she gets pissed off. And I don't think she really had the right to be pissed off, but that's okay. I was kind of willing to maybe overlook that one, even though it did piss me off. It was when she fucked up and wasn't willing to like truly apologize that I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And I don't want to spoil all of the things in this book, but basically everything that you think is going to happen does happen in this book. And not in like a fun way. Not in a fun, oh, like I could see it coming. It's like, okay, she's just going to continue to be a dumb bitch and irritate me. And I feel so mean saying that because this is this author's debut, and I don't think the writing was bad. I actually think the writing was pretty good. It was just that she chose to write a heroine who was so hard to sympathize with. I was rooting for her. Like I was rooting for the story. I liked this different depiction of grief. This person who does fuck up and like who isn't maybe the best at being a good friend when she's going through a hard time, but again, her inability to learn from that and our inability to see her like grow from the things that she was dealing with was really, it was really challenging for me. And I'm not seeing anyone else say that, so maybe I am alone in my annoyance, and maybe you will absolutely love this. I always recommend giving debut authors a try to see if it's, you know, someone that could maybe jazz your jollies and excite you. I would be interested to actually read a book from this author in the future. I like her writing style. I just didn't like this character. I do not hope that good things happen to this character, and that's never a good thing. That's never how I want to leave a story, so I hate this. I hate that I haven't been upbeat and like happy and excitable in this video, but I'm gonna blame that on the books, you know? Maybe if more books would just make me happy, I could be more upbeat and more my normal self here. Let us move on though. I want to eat my creamy chicken pasta. I want to get my PJs. I want to curl up with Say Remember Me. And mayhaps we bust out the mini mic for this? Yeah, let's do it. Let's get personal. Let's get up close. So, Pepperan is eating his wet food. So, if you can hear the slurping and the smacking, that would be him. I'm enjoying this. Everybody just say thank you, Abby. Thank you, Abby. She is single handedly saving this vlog from being a complete nightmare. Okay. So, this book is about Samantha and Xavier. Samantha brings a stray kitten to Xavier to examine. He is a vet. He has really good reviews. And upon examination, the cat has no butthole. It's actually not a cat, it's a kitten because a cat probably wouldn't last very long without a butthole. Speaking of cat buttholes, my Apple Watch keeps informing me that my litter robot has finished cycling. Anyway, upon examination, Xavier discovers the lack of butthole and he recommends that the cat be put down because it would just be really, really, really expensive to give the cat a butthole. But our heroine says, fuck you, basically. I'm going to raise this money and I'm going to get this cat a new butthole. And she does. She does, in fact, get Pooter a new poop shoot, I think is what we call it. Thus begins a beautiful romance. Our heroine brings the kitten to the vet after it gets a new butthole. And I say the vet to Xavier specifically, so that she can get like a sedative for the cat because I think she's traveling with it soon. And this sparks a really long date. A date that has like a series of unfortunate events. And I will say I was surprised to see how quickly these two went from not animosity, but from like a disagreement to immediately wanting to go on a date. But I actually kind of appreciated that. And I think that I'm appreciating the kind of quirk factor to this book. And I actually just read a novella from Abby yesterday. I was like, you know what? I want something quick and breezy and romantic. I picked the Fall Risk and I did enjoy that. And that one had kind of, I don't want to say a similar vibe, but there was just like a quirk that I don't feel like I've really recognized before about Abby's writing. It's something that I really like. She pulls it off in a way that I don't find irritating. Dialogue and the way that these two characters interact could be a little off-putting, I think, if anyone else wrote it, but I think the way that she does it, I'm into it. And I don't know how to really describe what's going on, but the scene where our hero falls into a lake or like dives into a lake to save the heroine's cell phone that goes tumbling in and, you know, saying, well, you know, you didn't have to do that for me to like see you shirtless or something like that. Like, I appreciate it. I appreciate the dialogue. I appreciate the way that she writes. It's so effortless. It's so fun. It's so a little quirky. I don't know, in a way that's not irritating. So hats off to her for that. I'm really just like simmering with the story and just enjoying it. The complicating factor, I should say, is kind of what I am on at the moment, which is that Samantha is going to be moving to California to be closer to her mother who has, I can't remember if it's dementia or Alzheimer's, but she no longer remembers Samantha. And Samantha's hoping that by living close to her mom, she can maybe regain some memory of Samantha, and that also, you know, she can just be there for her mom in maybe her final years. They don't really know how long her mom will live with this condition. I think she's in her 50s, so it's definitely early onset, and so far it's pretty devastating. And so yeah, she has left Minnesota and moved to California, and so that's ostensibly the last she thinks she's going to hear from Xavier, but I'm assuming that's not actually going to be the case. I'm curious to see how they're able to kind of bridge the distance and bridge the gap, and how they're able to turn this into a solid romance. Another thing I have to say that I'm just genuinely so impressed with is Abby's ability to not write a story that is insta love, but also to not have a lot of animosity between characters, to not have super, super slow burn. Like these characters, you know, they're attracted to each other from the beginning, but she doesn't spend a lot of time harping on like the physical attraction between the two. And I think that that is really what makes this so excellent. We're seeing these two get to know each other. We know that they're attracted to each other, but it feels fun. It doesn't feel contrived. It doesn't feel like I am bored. I am not hoping that these two fuck immediately. I'm also really glad that they're not thinking lustful thoughts about each other immediately. Not that they like aren't attracted to each other. I mean, she talks about him being shirtless, but yeah, I think often authors try to show attraction or try to show chemistry by having the hero's dialogue or a hero's point of view be like, oh, I just want to like take her panties off and motorboat her. Tessa Bailey, you know what I mean? And that's not always terrible, but really appreciate the subtlety, I suppose, of this. So thank you, Abby. Thank you, Abby. Yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens, especially when it comes to the mom's memory loss, because that is just like a really tough thing. And I know that it's a thing that a lot of people are dealing with as their parents age. So it's not something I have personal experience with. So this is not something that I feel triggered by, which I think is why I'm able to kind of just like chill with the story. But knowing Abby, I'm sure this is going to break me. So VRV once that starts happening, I guess. I'm farther in and I'm still enjoying it. It is in no way a lighthearted read, and in fact, I think this is one of the
I don't want to say harder hitting Abby Jimenez books. I mean, she includes real life issues in pretty much all of her books, and I wouldn't call really any of her books lighthearted, but this one in particular like hits the ground running with the hard stuff. In particular, we get to see our heroine helping to caretake for her mom and just how challenging that is. She's trying to create a sense of normalcy for her mom, but it is not easy, and many struggles with her mom leaving the house by herself and getting disoriented. And we have one such moment when Xavier actually comes to visit our heroine. They're like getting hot and heavy and making out, and then they hear wailing, and so they go outside and they find her mom kind of tangled up in, they don't know what, like a old pinata or like something that was strung up in the trees. She doesn't know where she is. She's very disoriented, and Xavier helps to diffuse the situation, which he just seems like such a great guy, honestly, like very understanding and very caring despite his struggles as well. So I don't think I've told y'all, but Xavier also had a hard childhood, which is why he is a vet. His parents were abusive and he doesn't talk to them anymore. And he didn't like how his childhood pet was treated, so he wants to treat pets, which I think is really, really cool. He also does a lot of like rescue work. He just seems like an all around really nice guy. He's definitely stoic, and I think that that really works again in this situation. Like, I think his personality is very much fitting of his background and his trauma. And I can't say that that's always the case when I read books. I think sometimes authors will give characters basically no trauma when it comes to men and try to justify their shitty behavior, trying to explain it away in a really not great way. They will super traumatize someone, and then that person has no trauma from it. It doesn't feel realistic. This book, I think, feels realistic. Like, everything in it is realistic. The way that, again, Xavier is handling his life and the way that our heroine is handling hers. I also just am, again, appreciating Abby's writing and appreciating the way that the characters are interacting. That's so dialogue heavy. Which I actually really love. Like, I love to see characters chat, because how else the fuck do you get to know someone? You know what I mean? That being said, it's not a given in romance, sadly. And so, yeah, it's just nice to getting to know each other on a deeper level from the very beginning. I am surprised they were getting hot and heavy so early, but like, they were interrupted, of course. So I guess that kind of creates more tension. I'm afraid that I am, in fact, crashing out a little bit. And I didn't expect that. And I don't think this is bad. I'm just kind of bored. It's perfectly pleasant. I stand by everything I have said up until this point, but there's nothing about this that is feeling stand out to me. This is feeling a little bit like that first series from Abby Jimenez. I say first series. I actually don't know how many books she's written at this point, but ones with these covers. I'll insert the covers of the books right here. Hated one of those books, and the rest I felt very middle of the road about, because I appreciated what she was doing, didn't love everything about them. And that's how I feel about this one. It's like, I think the hero's great. He has been traveling to see our heroine, even though he has a practice in Minnesota and cannot move to live near her. They're spending as much time together as they possibly can. I appreciate the lengths that he's going to, and I like that she is reciprocating his affection. I love that he's there for the hard times, and she also listens, comments about his family. I actually had to just pause the book. I'm listening to the audio and occasionally reading it, just depending on on what kind of mood I'm feeling, or I don't know, if I want to, scroll the internet and listen versus, read with my eyes. Anyway, I had to set my phone down because of the conversation that Xavier was having with his mom on the phone. I was like, okay, didn't expect to be triggered, to be honest. I thought that I was, these didn't have my triggers, but anyway, I think it's doing a good job at being a story about two people falling in love and two people making it work. Is it something that is truly gripping? Is it something that's truly different? Is it something that I think that everybody's going to love and swoon for? Probably not. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this. I do think that this is a good book, but I'm not blown away. And I think it's just because of the simplicity of the story. It's like, I know the past few clips I've been like, oh, I like the simplicity. I love that it's about two people falling in love and it's casual, and like, yes. But I was hoping for just a little bit more. Like, there was just a little bit more in the last book from Abby. And it's something that was kind of hard to define, something hard to put my finger on. I think maybe because our heroine kind of knows how she feels about her family and knows how she feels about her mom and her mom's health situation, maybe I'm just not seeing enough character development from her to where it feels like a sense of stagnance, I guess. That's not to say that our heroine is not dealing with the changes as they come and having to adapt, but it doesn't feel like we're really going on a journey of discovery with her and seeing her maybe like go through changes. Maybe that, you know what, now that I'm thinking about it, I think that might be it. I'm seeing more from our hero for sure, him dealing with his complicated feelings around his family. His mom just called, obviously. It doesn't seem like he's resolved that, and that's what I liked about the last book from Abby Jimenez is that the heroine there had a complicated relationship with her mom and she had to face that, and it was messy and turbulent, and yeah, there's a lot of growth there. And I don't know. I don't see a lot of barriers for these two being together except for the physical distance, you know? They're sharing their innermost thoughts, and they aren't being emotionally resistant to each other. So it's just like it's a very healthy relationship on paper, which I love, but it doesn't make for the most interesting story because we're not seeing a lot of like growth and change and development and messy conflict, you know? That's not a bad thing. It just doesn't make, again, for the most compelling story. So it's kind of where I'm at. I thought this was gonna be I always say this. I literally always say this. I'm crashing out. I'm crashing out. I thought this was going to be a more thrilling vlog, and I thought this was going to be a more thrilling book, but it is what it is. Let's finish. I'm going to finish this tonight, and I'm going to check back in with y'all tomorrow with my final thoughts. Crash Out, officially over. I finished Say You'll Remember Me, and I am so torn on this book because the last hour that I listened to of this had me in tears. I was crying on my morning walk, and I was really impressed with the emotional resonance of parts of the story. And I maintain what I said yesterday in the last clip. I think that this book is, I want to say more about the hero, but he definitely undergoes more of a transformation in a way. And I think that he is definitely at a very different place at the end of the story than he was at the beginning of it. Our heroine, on the other hand, I don't really think undergoes the same level of growth. Really admire her caretaking. I really admire her desire to respect her mother's wishes about being taken care of at home and not being put in a sort of like care facility, memory care facility. It was also kind of frustrating because I think that our hero kind of had to make, I don't want to say too many sacrifices for love. It did kind of beg the question at times, like, is he doing this because he's never really experienced love before and this is the only way he thinks he's ever going to find it, is if he gives up everything that he has ever done and all the success he has had to be with her? I can say, like, he doesn't give up everything and things do kind of work out for him, which was nice, but I don't think that like having things work out for him kind of serendipitously is the answer to some of the problems by this couple. Like, I wanted to see more give on the part of our heroine. Not sure if that's unfair. I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion, but like I don't know, there were parts of this book that irritated me, but parts that made me cry, the parts that were emotional were also good. I think I'm landing on a 4-star for this, definitely not 5 stars, but I think that 3 is just not enough for this book. I think 3 gives very mediocre vibes to me, very middle of the road, and this is not middle of the road. This is a very solid book. I just don't think it was like my absolute perfect Abby Jimenez book. I think the last one is very, very good. This one, good but less good. So I'm glad that we redeemed ourselves. I'm still happy to have this book. I debated hotly whether I should buy a copy before listening to the audiobook, but I wanted to like have the experience of reading it physically and having the audiobook. So I'm glad that I own this. I'm glad that I own this. It's a great book and I would in fact recommend it. Would I recommend the other 2 books that I read in this video? Probably not. Was the Crash Out extreme last night? And did I wonder what I was going to do with the footage for this video if I was going to post it? Yes, I did. But you know what? I'm here to share the good, the bad, and the ugly of reading with you. And I'm glad that I got to put my thoughts out there, you know, selfishly for some of these books, especially A Great Big Beautiful Life. So thanks for hanging out with me. Let me know in the comments down below what you personally thought of these books, if they were great for you. I know a lot of you are going to be hyping that Emily Henry in the comments. I might not interact with that. Anyway, I love y'all. Thanks so much for watching this. Next video is going to be me reading the Powerless trilogy by Lauren Roberts. I read the first book last year and I was tempted by the last book at Barnes & Noble. And I have a rule right now where I'm not buying books unless they're for videos. So by buying that book, I locked myself into reading the whole trilogy. So you're gonna see that next week. Thanks for watching. Love y'all. See you next time.